Welcome, travelers, to another episode of the Time Travel Trio podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Hyde.
And we're
the
Time Travel Trio. Welcome to a superhero episode.
Yes.
Ooh. We haven't done a lot of superhero episodes.
You know, we really haven't.
Yeah.
And this is exciting.
Yeah, this is the only movie that we can actually cover from the MCU
Yeah,
so
for sure.
far.
Whose pick was it today? Was it you?
No. It was.
I think it was
Matt.
me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Today,
reveal to us the movie that you chose that people can read in the description.
today we are doing Doctor Strange. Surprise!
Woo! Continuing the Rachel McAdams time travel
Yes.
saga.
I know
Yet
that's
again.
really. I mean, obviously we're all fans of the MCU, but we really just wanted to show
Yeah.
another Rachel McAdams movie where she does not time travel, yet
Yeah.
she dates a time traveler.
Yeah, we probably could have done this in a mini episode, maybe, but we're going to talk about it for an hour, so it'll be fun.
Yeah.
We've all seen it before. We actually all saw this together,
Yeah.
and we're super excited. And this came out when we had already been underway of not only doing this podcast, as well as we had already started the Rachel McAdams
Trilogy,
trilogy.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So we saw
We were
it.
aware.
We were super excited. It was enough time travel, and Rachel McAdams dated a time traveler, didn't time travel, so here we are.
Yeah.
And I think
No-brainer.
it was you, Matt, who was the first one to point out, like, this is another Rachel McAdams time travel.
I mean, yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they built this movie as a time travel movie, obviously, and it's kind of like one of those like turn back time near the end of the story to like save the day.
Mhm.
But there is enough of it.
Yeah.
It isn't
And
like
he's
Galaxy
using, like,
Quest.
combat, too. Like, the
Right.
idea of turning back time. It's not just, like, one scene. Like,
Yeah.
the aspect of it is used. Time dilation is used quite a bit, too.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah. It's
the-
more than just a gimmick at the end, which is
Right.
nice.
and it's also an Infinity Stone, which in the MCU is a pretty big deal. So
Yeah. So the description for Doctor Strange is, while on a journey of physical and spiritual healing, a brilliant neurosurgeon is drawn into the world of the mystic arts. So, yeah. That's how it starts.
Yes.
Doctor Strange is played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and Tilda Swinton is the Ancient One. It's a really strong cast. Obviously,
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams, as we
Chiwetel
mentioned.
Ejiofor.
Yeah, and Mads Mikkelsen is the bad guy, as well as Benedict Cumberbatch playing Dormammu. You can't really tell.
Oh, yeah, it's his
but
voice, right?
It's his face too.
Yeah, it's his face. Okay.
It's like a CGI kind of monster.
I did
Generic
not know, I did
word.
not know he was also
really?
the face of Dormammu.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no like implications in the story. You know, it's not like is
No,
Doctor
it's-
Strange secretly. No, it's just
yeah, it's more
you know,
like if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings,
Right.
Right.
he's Smaug.
He
Does this
is
he
familiar
has
with
voice.
that like facial CGI sort of thing, and
Mhm.
he has that like strong voice and whatever. So
I did know it was his voice. I did not know that he also used
yeah,
his
they
face.
used his face.
That's cool.
But I don't think he's even credited in the credits as it. Maybe.
That made
I don't
confusing
know.
for people. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah, to be both. And Benedict Wong plays Wong.
And Benjamin Bratt in one of the most confusingly small parts I've ever seen an
It was
actor of his
so-
caliber. And
It was so weird.
it's like
Why? Why was it Benjamin Bratt?
my only theory is, and by the way, if you have not seen this movie, we're going to spoil it. So if you for some reason haven't seen Doctor Strange, just a heads up. My only theory is he's going to somehow come back in the sequel. Because there's no way you get Benjamin Bratt. Like, I mean, Tilda Swinton, like, yeah, she's only in this movie, but she has a big part in it.
Yeah.
You know, like, but Benjamin Bratt's like, I mean, this guy's been like the lead on TV shows. He's been in big movies.
Yeah.
To bring him in just to kind of be like, hey, and then disappear. I'm like, no
It was
way.
too much of a pointed cameo for it to be such a small part.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Although he is in, this is still Disney, but he is cast in the upcoming Disney Pixar movie Coco.
Right. So maybe
He
it's
is
kind of
one of
like,
those-
hey,
maybe
you're on
They
stage.
liked him. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows?
Like, you're in Anaheim this weekend. Why don't you
Yeah.
just come on over?
Come on over for a couple days.
well, yeah, but I think maybe like in the second one, Doctor Strange would be like, "What happened to you?" He's like, "Oh,
Yeah, it makes sense that
Mordo did this to me."
maybe they revisit him somewhere in the universe. I don't know, is Jonathan Pangborn a comic book character or anything?
You know, I don't know the Doctor Strange comics well enough. I'll be totally honest. My brother read a couple Doctor Strange, and I did read the Doctor Strange comic where he goes basically into like hell with Doctor Doom, which is
Interesting.
fantastic. If you ever want to get into the psychology of Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom, it's a really, really good comic. One of the rare hero-villain team-ups that truly explores the aspects of both characters.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely check it out if you get a chance. I'm forgetting the name, and there's going to be comic book fans who hate me for forgetting, but check it out. It's really good. You can usually find it at most comic book stores. It's a pretty
Cool.
watershed moment for the character.
Well, that's exciting. Okay, so let's play the trailer.
Doctor Strange, you think you know how the world works? What if I told you the reality you know is one of many?
This doesn't make any sense.
Not everything does. Not everything has to. Through the mystic arts, we harness energy and shape reality. We travel great distances in an instant.
How do I get from here to there?
How did you become a doctor?
Study and practice, years of it. There's a strength to him, but is he ready?
Be careful which paths you travel down, Strange. Stronger men than you have lost their way. I am death. And pain. You'll die protecting this world.
I can't do this.
There is no other way.
I've spent so many years peering through time, looking for you.
What's this, my mantra?
It's the Wi-Fi password. We're not savages.
There's a lot of things that the trailer and this movie kind of remind me of. The trailer definitely has a lot of the shots of when they are bending reality, so it looks a lot like Inception.
Yeah.
It does.
Like a lot of
They're
it does.
definitely trying to give you the same feeling of like Inception with... in the movie, it doesn't feel...
It's not as much in the movie, it
Yeah.
seems like, yeah.
But in the trailer, they're definitely like, Inception.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also, like, in the movie, we're in a mirror dimension, so we know it's, like, a different place. But in the trailer, it's like, look at New York being warped, like, you know,
Yeah.
someone's, I don't know, some weird
Like the
things
buildings
going
are folding in on themselves, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you have seen Inception, you'll know what that looks like.
Right.
It's also
but-
a very serious trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a very
it's a very-
serious trailer. We noticed that a lot of the lines that they use in the trailer are different lines of dialogue kind of mashed together to make sentences that didn't actually get said in the movie. There's a line where Mads Mikkelsen in the trailer says, "I am death." He never says that.
Yeah.
He says something, "I am whatever, blah, 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 death and something,"
Right.
later. But they kind of mash it together. You can kind of hear it, too, if you play it.
It's like,
and you're
I
like,
am death.
oh, it's like, you can hear that the inflections are a little bit off.
Yeah.
Right.
And Matt was saying, too, that at the end, there's voiceover of Tilda Swinton's character saying, like, I've peered through time and been looking for you, or something like that. She never says that.
Like, and I'm pretty sure it's three
And it's
sentences
not
mashed
true.
together because she
Yeah.
says that I've been peering through time when she's about to die.
Yeah.
And then I think
There's a lot of pauses.
Yeah,
So you can
and-
kind of...
and I don't think she ever says looking for you because she wasn't looking for him ever.
Not in the context of that sentence.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So I don't know. I think it was like three different sentences
Yeah.
mashed together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which, I mean, I get it, because it's such a hard... There's a lot going on in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
There actually is quite a bit going on in the movie. More than the average MCU movie in terms of, like, just, like, how much plot there is in this and, like, how much they have to explain. Because this was a kind of a... For the MCU, this was kind of something new for them in the sense of, like, all the Marvel movies up to this point have always been strictly science. There's no magic. Even Thor is not magic. It's even said that it's just our version of technology.
Yeah,
Humans
it's advanced
perceive
technology.
it, as magic. So this was the first movie that they did in their kind of tone and universe that had actual magic.
I know. Well, they explained it as they access the power of different dimensions, which we have seen other dimensions with, like, I think Guardians had some other dimensions, but like, yeah, the Tesseract, like all the Infinity Stones kind of have other dimensional power, like the Ether, it like accesses the other dimension that
Right.
They need to bring into this dimension. So they, like this movie actually, you see them with it obviously is magical to us. But it's like using the alternate dimensions to like alter our dimension.
Yeah. I do want to point out that we also have another trilogy. One of our actors just kind of happens to be in 3 different movies that we've done now.
Yeah.
Michael Stolbarg, who I always immediately recognize him from Men in Black 3. He's the dimensional viewing
he's
alien.
Griff.
He was also in Arrival. And he was in this movie. He's a doctor in the hospital. So that is a fun fact. What did you guys think looking at this movie? Kind of trying to be more critical.
Second time around.
Yeah, this is the 3rd time I've watched it.
Yeah,
So-
same for me. I've watched it 3 times.
What did you think?
We also watched it not too long ago, actually, before this rewatch.
Yeah.
And I still like it. It's Marvel always has a way to like make it. They have jokes in there. It's pretty funny, more or less throughout. But I think what I like most about this movie is I want to live in this world where I can like get this power and do this stuff and have a sling ring to go through this portal and be anywhere in the world. Like I want to be in this world. So that's what I want to live that life kind of.
No, I agree. I think it's cool. I like magic and that kind of stuff and that fantasy. Those worlds that are created with that. So I agree.
Yeah, this is my 3rd time seeing it. I saw it twice in theaters because I had another group of friends who wanted to go see the movie, so I saw it with them. And then I saw it again to watch this. I would definitely put it in the upper half of the more recent MCU films, and probably just all in general. I put it in the upper half. I like a lot of it. The writing introduces a lot of really cool ideas. There's great visuals, great cinematography. The acting is all solid. And they set up, finally, we'll see if they actually go through with it, but you can count on one hand the amount of interesting villains the MCU actually has.
Right.
Yeah.
And not talking about all Marvel movies, because you look at the early like Spider-Man stuff, they have great villains. But if you're talking about I've not seen it, I hear Vulture in Homecoming is great.
Oh,
Yeah,
you haven't seen it
he's
yet?
great.
Yeah, he's really good.
But there's not a lot. And Chiwetel Ejiofor is set up to be a very complex and actually fleshed out villain.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen is totally wasted in
Yeah.
this movie.
He could have done so much more, and I was kind of thinking when I was watching it this time, like, it was a good 3 scenes or so that we see of him before he even has a line of dialogue.
Right. He's also listed, I think Watch Mojo or Looper on YouTube recently listed him as like movie villains who surprisingly never kill anyone on screen. Like he doesn't really do anything in this movie. Like that he's doing stuff that's like wrong, and I guess he does technically kill the one guy at the opening, but Mads Mikkelsen isn't the guy who does it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's the
That's
leader.
true.
I mean, I think he probably exploded the other faces, but
Yeah.
we don't see it. We never see him actually
You never
kill
see
someone.
it. So it kind of makes him... You never feel like he's very menacing. Tomorrow, I guess, is given a menacing presence just because of what he is, what he represents.
Yeah.
I won't say who. I actually know one of the writers. Well, we spoke on Reddit and we actually traded script notes, not on Doctor Strange. He was not allowed to show me the Doctor Strange script. Don't get angry at him, Disney. He didn't show me that. But he showed me some other scripts he had worked on. And we were trading notes. And I can definitely tell what scenes he wrote. And you have to wonder how much of it was Marvel Studios. Because the trailer makes this movie look very dark.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie has some dark moments for sure. But they totally get rid of the idea that Doctor Strange was a drunk and an alcoholic. They just make him very selfish and kind of an arrogant a-hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which works.
I mean, yeah, we already have Tony Stark to be that the alcoholic kind of guy.
Even though they also kind of avoid
Yeah, they
that
did,
too.
didn't they? Yeah.
They get very close in Iron Man 2.
Yeah,
But then they kind of...
Yeah, it's more PTSD for him
Yeah,
than it is anything else.
exactly. So, this movie does a lot of things well, but it still suffers from all the things that is wrong with the MCU as a whole. So it's like, watching it with a more critical eye, it's like I can enjoy the ride, but it still kind of has an empty feeling at the end. It doesn't, there's something unsatisfying about it.
Yeah, I definitely, if you have Marvel fatigue, I could definitely see this movie being too much for you. Like I definitely do see that. And one of the things that I read that people have with these movies is that they undercut the moments where you're supposed to like feel for the character. They throw comedy in there to kind of like undercut the dramatic weight of it. Because unless it's kind of like they don't believe in their...
The Bathos, yes.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Bathos video essay.
Right.
Yeah,
Which I kind of get it, but...
You never really feel sorry for... At least I didn't really ever feel that sorry for Benedict Cumberbatch. Oh, you poor, sad, rich, selfish neurosurgeon.
Right. He's
losing
horrible
your
to
hand.
Rachel McAdams.
He's not... Yeah, he's horrible to her. He's kind of a shitty guy. And okay, yeah, he can't really be a neurosurgeon anymore, but he could still teach. There's still things he could do with his life, but he chooses to kind of mope about it and whine and spend all his
which
money.
is fine in the first act of a movie.
And
but
that's
then
also what Palmer says. Palmer says there's more than life.
Right,
yeah.
and I get that, but that's the most I ever saw of him really, quote unquote, suffering.
Right.
I never really, once he was in Kamar-Taj, there wasn't, he was just learning how to fight and become Doctor Strange or whatever and become one of these people, but where was my sympathy for him? Yeah,
it does come back, and I think this is more on just the writing of the scene and also Benedict Cumberbatch and Chiwetel Ejiofor both being Oscar caliber actors in the same scene. Mm-hmm. The scene where he's just killed the character played by Scott Adkins. Yeah. And he's tormented by the fact he's a doctor. He doesn't kill people. Yeah. And then Chiwetel Ejiofor is saying this is what you signed up for. And that's a great scene. Yeah. And it's one of the few scenes that they do without making a useless joke in there.
I agree. Although that scene made me learn more about Mordo than it did about Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree that they're both very great actors and they did a good job with that scene, that if it was maybe more generic actors, it wouldn't have been as powerful.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
But I'm still lacking, and I feel like that's kind of the problem. I don't know, we've seen so many Tony Stark movies or him in movies and whatever, that I have seen enough sympathetic moments from him, and him struggling and him losing things and whatever, and even what comes to mind, even when his Malibu house is blown up and he loses Pepper and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's a big problem with the MCU, is that they're not grounded enough as people. We're shown them somewhat regular in the beginning of their movies or the beginning of their origin stories, and then they just learn how to be their hero, and then we never really see them have much sympathy. If they're losing to a villain, maybe, but that's not enough that us regular humans can relate to.
Actually, it's ironically enough, maybe it's so funny because it's actually more of one of the more comedic MCU films. And one of the movies where I actually did feel for the hero that came out recently in the MCU was Ant-Man. Even though it's much more comedic in tone, I certainly felt for his struggle and the fact that he always was trying to impress his daughter. And, they do a lot with that. I mean,
it was more human for him to have that issue to deal with.
Spoiler for those who haven't seen Ant-Man, so you skip the next 30 seconds if you have. But it does say something that at the end he is willing to potentially sacrifice himself to go subatomic to save his daughter. And you feel that moment. It feels like a genuine moment.
Because it's not just he doesn't have a daughter in the beginning of the movie for one scene, and then you know, at the end, he's like, I have to save her. It's like throughout the movie,
Throughout
that's
the
his
movie,
goal.
right.
That's why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this movie was missing, which is
Yeah.
why you should have taken Rachel McAdams on your time travel adventure. Just let her time travel.
In every single one of these movies, it would have been better if she had time traveled with the hero. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong. But
I mean, there wouldn't have been as much conflict in Time Travel's wife about it, but, you know, maybe we'll give a pass to that one.
yeah, but still, anyway, yeah. But I agree. What's his motivation for wanting to become a hero? That he wants to have some sort of a purpose for himself in life?
I mean, yeah.
Even towards the end, he's like still struggling with like choosing this to quote unquote save people.
Right.
He doesn't get there.
It
Like,
feels
in the
more like a
beginning,
power trip
It's
than
kind of like
anything else.
he's settling for that's a reason to keep doing it, not for why he was doing it in the first place.
I mean, Mordo has some good points at the end of this movie. He's like,
He's
they're
not
too.
wrong.
He's not wrong. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not right to go around. Though we haven't seen him actually kill anyone. He just takes away Benjamin Bratt's power.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's like, he's not necessarily wrong. I can definitely see his perspective. Like,
Yeah.
in his mind, it's like, yo, like, we just, like, cities just got destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, we almost lost the Earth because way too many people are sorcerers. And all these people who get all this, like, power that the Ancient One was just deciding in her own discretion who got it.
Yeah.
Like, she's not, like, a god or anything. She's just a person who was like, I get to decide who gets the true power.
Yeah.
It's like, you're causing a lot of problems, so maybe we shouldn't let people do this
Yeah,
anymore.
it's like Benjamin Bratt he learned how to harness or access the power, and then he was like, yeah, but I don't want to help you defeat any of these bad guys, so I'm just going to be selfish and leave.
You know, shoot some hoops.
I was going to shoot some hoops, right.
Yeah.
I'm going to heal myself. Not going to heal other people, just going to heal myself.
Yeah.
Jen and I watched one of the featurettes on the DVD or Blu-ray afterwards, and it said like they wrote Mordo like in the way that he thinks he's doing what he believes to be right, which obviously we see in the movie. Like and that's what makes him such a good character. Like we understand what he's doing, and we understand why he's kind of now going to be anti Doctor Strange.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, where it's like, at this point, a character like Loki, who's Tom Hiddleston is just great, so he adds so much to that character,
Mhm.
but after a while, kind of becomes a joke. It's like, he's just kind of a punchline
He's at it again.
at a certain point. Like, even in the Avengers, it's kind of like, okay, fine, Loki is the big bad.
Yeah,
But he's
Globetrotters versus the
still-
Washington Generals.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, even in this upcoming Thor movie, he's still the villain?
Well, we don't know.
I'm not
Well,
the
yeah.
villain, but he's still...
He's an antagonistic force.
Right, I'm like... It's kind of just because he's popular with fans that they keep him, you know, stuff like that.
but
I'm like,
I'll
why?
hopefully, because actually Thor Ragnarok actually looks very interesting. I'm willing to reserve judgment.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm just
the
tired
idea
of...
that Kate Blanchett is going to play Hela is
Yeah.
genius casting.
Yeah, I think
I'm
she's
not-
going to be the one that destroys Asgard.
I'm not saying things against Thor Ragnarok. I'm just saying, like,
I know what you're saying.
Marvel kind of sucks dry their quote-unquote popular villains because they're popular.
Right.
And it's kind of gets old after a while.
And Marvel
I
has
don't need
great
to see
villains.
Loki again.
Right. Like, you don't need...
There's so many people you can... Yeah, I just...
No, I'm with you. I mean, it is, you know, obviously we've gone talking about, like, but I think it is a problem because I do think, and I'm hoping with the second Doctor Strange they remedy this a little bit with Mordo because he does have a lot of potential here if
Yeah.
they don't drop the ball.
Yeah.
And they have a great actor playing him. But I do, rewatching it did bug me a little bit that, like, the conflict never was very, it was clear, not clear is not right, but the conflict never felt, I never had a personal attachment to the conflict. There were a few scenes where I did. For instance, when he goes to the New York Sanctum, and then he ends up fighting in the hospital and Rachel
Yeah, the
McAdams is
astral
performing the
projection.
surgery. Like,
Yeah.
all that felt intense. Or when they fight in the mirror dimension and the Ancient One comes in to help. Like, that I felt very invested in.
Yeah.
The other scenes are very cool fight scenes, like at the end where they're using time travel to, like, trap Mads Mikkelsen, and the Dormaro trick is pretty cool. But yeah, it is the movie's just missing something. It's not bad, it's entertaining. Great soundtrack, great cinematography, great acting, but it's missing
I
something.
think it is... Maybe part of that is... Why is Kaecilius doing it? I think. I don't think we got enough of that. They kind of... There were
Yeah,
times
he's like
that
a
it
zealot
was...
that wants to
Right. There were
bring
times that it was
Dormammu.
explained away, but there wasn't enough that I was like, okay, this is why he's doing all this, destroying the world, whatever.
Yeah.
It just kind of was one guy with a cult following who found some pages in a book.
Yeah, I mean, like he says, he wants to bring Dormammu to the world and like live eternally, but like at the same time, it's like
Why?
like, but
Where did that stem from?
Like, if Dormammu comes, you're all just gonna die. I mean, why do you want?
Right, they built him up
I mean?
as this really smart guy who just went bad, and like, okay, maybe because he realized that the Ancient One was using power from the Dark Dimension. Okay, but like, there wasn't like, show me some backstory scenes or something, like some flashbacks, something to kind of help me understand why we're even fighting this guy in the first place. Like, I understand that he's doing something bad, but that's not enough to carry a villain throughout a movie.
Right. Also, they also kind of shoot themselves in the foot with him because the first time he goes against Doctor Strange, he loses very quickly. And he loses pretty unceremoniously. He just gets trapped in, like, a Dead Space rig-looking statue.
Yeah.
And then they make some jokes, and then he gets... he escapes.
They also, I hated that in that scene that they had them, like, have this whole dialogue of, trying to, like, this is why I'm doing this, and this is, whatever, when doesn't say, I am death, or whatever, but in the trailer, that's what it shows.
They also do...
That was too long.
No offense to the writers, because I know one of them, but they also do the most overcooked, overdone, beaten to... Not even a dead horse, it's a dead, like, horse pulp. Where the hero introduces himself and like he says his last name and he thinks his last name is like his whole name, he thinks his last name is Doctor Strange. Like he's like, or he says like Mr. Doctor Strange.
It's
and
strange.
I'm like, what? I'm like, Mads Mikkelsen is a smart. Like Mads Mikkelsen's what person on the planet thinks that someone goes by Mr. Doctor? Like no one thinks that. 6-year-olds don't think that. Like, Doctor is a profession that's been around for centuries.
This is someone that they have told us more than once in this movie that this is a very smart guy who picked up these skills very quickly.
I know it sounds like we're nitpicking this movie, but like honestly, that as a writer, that drove me crazy because it's like in my probably top 5 like lines to never do in a script.
Yeah, it was funny. Like one time, like a really offhanded comment, fine. But it felt like they just wouldn't let it go. And like still at the end when he's trapped in this rig or whatever, like a torture suit, that he was still like...
cracking jokes.
Yeah, about his name or something. And then he spent like 10 minutes trying to, convince Benedict Cumberbatch to join him or something? It was absurd.
Which, it's just, it's...
He didn't respect... He was like, how long have you even been training there? He lost quickly, but he also, while they were fighting, didn't really feel that Doctor Strange was a strong, fighter anyway.
Right.
It just, there was a lot of things that were kind of messy.
Poor Mads Mikkelsen. If you want to see him play a very, very good villain, watch Casino Royale.
Yeah, I was saying, watch the Bond movie.
No, actually watch Hannibal.
Oh, yeah.
Watch
Hannibal.
Show. Yeah. In this movie, I like seeing Mads Mikkelsen in anything, really, but it was nice to see Hannibal versus Sherlock. I mean, as close as we can get.
As close as we'll ever get.
But Hannibal, he's really good as Hannibal. That show's really good.
Yeah. And he's good in Rogue One, even though that's a smaller part, but he's given a lot more to chew on there.
Yeah, more than this, that's for sure.
Sorry, we went on a tangent.
It was bound to happen when we were doing a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's the MCU tangent. It's the only time we can talk about it. So.
I know, at least for now. Okay, so let's talk about the time travel?
Certainly.
Now we're halfway through this episode.
Yeah.
So obviously there's an Infinity Stone. It's the Time Infinity Stone. And we actually have a clip of when Doctor Strange was first using it. It's in the Eye of Agamotto.
It's like a device that he wears
as a necklace
in the movie.
Some bling.
Bling blang.
Dormammu. The Dark Dimension. Eternal life.
Tampering with continuum probabilities is forbidden.
I was just doing exactly what it said in the book.
And what did the book say about the dangers of performing that ritual?
I don't know. I haven't gotten to that part yet.
Temporal manipulations can create branches in time. Unstable dimensional openings. Spatial paradoxes. Time loops. You want to get stuck reliving the same moment over and over forever or never having existed at all?
really should put the warnings before the spell.
Your curiosity could have gotten you killed. You weren't manipulating the space-time continuum. You were breaking it. We do not tamper with natural law. We defend it.
I remember seeing that scene in the movie theater and literally started laughing because he was just spewing out time words. That was it's like any time sort of time travel, timey word, whatever, go. I was like surprised he didn't just say wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, because at that point that would have just finished his sentence.
Yeah.
Time loops, time infractions, whatever, like all his I'm just like, do you want to repeat the same day forever? Or not even exist? I don't know, I just watched 15 time travel movies.
I just watched Time Machine and Back to the Future.
Yeah. It's just... but anyway, they're kind of explaining how, like, they
really
believe...
mess some stuff up.
Yeah, they believe in the idea of not messing with time at all because it will disturb the natural law.
Yeah, I mean, that's how in this world, in this universe, that's how time is. It like things can be changed, and it's based on probability. So like, you know, things can change, the future can change, the past can be changed, and it's all based on probability. Like in that scene we watched, when the fractures come over the book, like you see his reflection doing different things. So it's like, you know, it's like beware,
Yeah.
things might be changing, you know. So that's kind of
Yeah, when they mess with time, it creates alternate timelines. Is kind of the idea they believe, right?
I think it has a potential too.
Yeah.
Like it can fracture time potentially.
Yeah.
You know.
Which we see a little bit of. Like, we do see that, like, it can cause, like, issues. Almost, and they present it almost like, as Matt is saying, frames or even glitches.
Right.
And then you can get stuck in a time loop, which is how Doctor Strange tricks Dormammu. Dormammu. I'm sorry, I'm just in Marvel vs. Capcom, where they call him... It's weird. Anyway.
Dormammu. But, yeah, so as Hyde was saying at the end of the movie, yeah, he kind of...
Well, it's a couple of things. There's, so basically the way it works is he can, like, put a little rune on his arm, or, like, looks like a little magic...
I called it a time bracelet.
Yeah, time bracelet. And he can rewind time. And it's like a spell, obviously, so in the last act of the movie, he sets a rewind spell going, so, like, Hong Kong is being repaired after being destroyed, and so we kind of see the city be rebuilt.
It reverses. It's
Yeah.
not like people building bricks. It's like it reverses backwards.
I know, but yeah, whatever. So
it's cool.
Yeah. But in doing that thing, you can be pulled out of the rewind, and then kind of you're not in a different realm, but like you're still there. You can be affected by the rewind, but you're moving forward.
Your actions and your physical movements and whatever is separate from what you were doing during the rewind.
Right.
It's almost like being it's almost like the scenery and background is changing, but you are staying constant.
Yeah.
Very much like some visuals we see like in Inception or things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But it's done very effective. I gotta say, it's very cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Really well thought out.
It's cool how they use it to fight each other is really interesting.
Yeah, they like go up a scaffold, and as it gets like re-put to where it was, and then one of the bad guys gets trapped behind a window that gets rebuilt, you know?
Right.
And then, like, someone gets, like, pushed into a tank of water, and they're like, no, I'm stuck in the water now. But it's weird because the first time it starts, like, Mads Mikkelsen and his team, they get out of it. They get themselves out of it. So it's kind of like, how do you...
Well, they have... It's kind of mentioned throughout the movie that they are more powerful because they have started to tap into the dark dimension.
Oh, right. That's right.
So I would say it's that, and the fact that Dormammu is, like, right there.
Yeah.
They probably are stronger.
Yeah,
and so
that's
it just
true.
it's just like when they're in the mirror dimension, when they're trying to escape from the New York Sanctum, where they're like, oh wait, shit, this was a bad idea because they can't affect reality, but they can kill them because they're stronger in the mirror dimension for whatever reason.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, and they also can affect reality as they like. Wait, they mess with the real world, like in the Sanctum,
Mm-hmm.
and like, oh yeah, so that means they know what they're doing.
So,
but yeah, and then so that's in Hong Kong, and then obviously Doctor Strange flies into the dark dimension, and then he sets the time loop.
yeah, so he dies however many times over and over again, just trying to convince Dormammu to change his mind, basically. So he says he wants to bargain.
Yeah, he basically kidnapped Dormammu, pretty much. He's
Yeah.
trapped him in this time loop until he lets him go.
Yeah, so that's his bargain is like, I'll let you go if you leave and never come back,
Right.
basically, which is really smart because it shows a hero moment of him being like, I would rather sacrifice myself having to stay here for all eternity rather than you being
Destroy
able to
the
go
Earth.
down and destroy the Earth.
Right.
Which is a pretty heroic thing to do, I'd say.
Yes.
But, yeah, so then, of course, eventually Dormammu says, okay. But my question when watching it was that, like, so they both remember each conversation from each loop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is interesting. I guess they do. Like, Dormammu, it makes sense that Dormammu would because he's some sort of, like, higher being.
I keep calling him Dormammu.
Dormammu.
Yeah.
Moo-moo.
Moo-moo.
It's good that Moo-moo
There you go.
still remember. It makes sense that he
Dormy.
would. And I guess because Doctor Strange is the person initiating it,
Yeah.
he
Right.
remember it.
And they say that time is, like, unaffected, or there's some word
Yeah,
that they use,
the
like,
dark
time
dimension is beyond time.
Yeah, beyond time.
But
So-
yeah, the first time it happens, Dormammu like says, you know,
says the
what are you
same
doing
thing
here? He's
again.
like, wait a second, I just did this. So like he's aware, like he almost does the same thing, but then he's like, wait a second, I see what's going on here. What's going on?
I've done it before.
Yeah.
What kind of trick is this?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's side note, like the whole dimensional world is very interesting. The scene where he's flying through and he sees all the different dimensions is very interesting. It's very CGI, which is fine. However, every time I see it now, I just think of that shooting star meme they did with Doctor Strange. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Like, dun, 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 dun. If you guys have not seen it, check out the shooting star meme. First, just get an idea of what the shooting star meme is. Then watch the Doctor Strange one, because after you see that one, you'll never need to watch another shooting star meme ever
I
again.
haven't seen
I've
that.
missed,
Okay.
I've missed this meme.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. I think it is a little weird in that dimension because like he flies through, like there's oxygen there, you know, and yeah, it is a little weird. It's magical, obviously, but it's like he before he talks to Dormammu, he sets it, and so even though he does die and it breaks, it then like gets reset back to that point. So anything can happen after that time he set it, but it'll go right back to there, you know, unless he actually turns the spell off again.
Right.
Mhm.
But like the way that they show it, the first time you actually like see the rewind, and then the second time you hear the rewind, and after that he just keeps showing up again. So it kind of like, for convenience sake, they show it him just like reappear,
Yeah.
but it is like being rewound.
I mean, since it's rewound, then it makes sense for, like, the second time that Dormammu would repeat his same sentence. I think.
Right? Yeah.
So, okay. I'll buy it. So Doctor Strange learns about the study of time through what the movie calls the Book of Cagliostro. That's what we see in the trailer a little bit, and in the clip that we watched is him looking through this book. That's where Mads Mikkelsen gets this spell to summon Dormammu.
And he's ripped out the pages,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he only can be the only one who uses it. But then that's why Doctor Strange uses time travel to basically make the pages reappear.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it also is where the Ancient One gets her power to stay young, like eternal life, essentially.
Mhm.
It's in the same book.
Yeah. So that's, we don't see, it's a big book, we don't see most of it.
And it's also in a different language.
Yeah, so even if we did see it, we wouldn't understand.
Right.
But it's kind of cool because maybe there's potential for other spells later down the road, for another
Mhm.
movie or whatever.
I'm
for,
sure, yeah.
Infinity War or whatever it is, to for
You know-
him to gain new skills, so that's cool.
Yeah, and we've been a little tough on the filmmakers and the writers of this with some of their things we nitpick. But one thing I do like about this movie is that the movie does always follow its rules. They
Yeah.
don't do any like real rule breaking. All the rules are set. There's no like rule that shows up in the ninth hour. Even the time travel loop is something that is explicitly mentioned in different ways
Yeah.
and demonstrated before Doctor Strange
Yeah.
does it. So a lot of credit on that.
Even in the
like,
clip
you
that
know.
we played, Mordo says you could be
Stuck in a
trapped in
loop.
the same loop for
Yeah, they kinda-
eternity, which is
They kind of
exactly
foreshadow.
what happens. Yeah, it's very
Mm.
much a foreshadow.
Yeah, and it's also another thing too is when the Ancient One is dying, she's like astral projecting, you know, to see the like time is slowed down in that realm, you know, where it's like a moment is lasting like 1,000 moments. She said that she's peered through time, and it like she kind of implied that it's changed a lot, but it always ends here, you know. So it's like that kind of shows that the future is in flux, you know. It's not set in stone.
And
Right. But
it
she always knew she was gonna. For some reason, she always knew she was gonna die.
It always ends up
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It also shows that maybe Doctor Strange will be able to gain the skill of looking into the future.
That's true.
Like she does, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because we definitely don't have anyone like that on the Avengers. Well, I
What
guess
about
Vision.
Tony Stark?
Vision,
Tony Stark
technically, right?
technically saw the future.
Can Vision see
No,
the future?
no. Tony Stark saw Vision.
Yeah, he saw Vision.
That was his worst fear.
Yes, true.
And it might be bound to some reality because it was based on, like, it was related to Thanos that he had this fear. So what he saw might come back thematically in a movie.
Sure.
But I think it was just his worst fear.
No, but I'm talking about not a Vision, the Vision.
I know, but I don't think Vision can.
Yeah, I don't think because not at least not in this version of Vision.
No, he's
Okay.
he's telepathic, but he can't see the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
He can like sense motive, and he can tell that like what people want to do, but he can't see the future.
Which would be interesting. There, a lot of interesting stuff could happen by a lot of interesting stuff could happen with Doctor Strange being able to see the future or rewind time.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
that could end up saving one of the Avengers' lives at some
Yeah,
point.
I definitely
and-
think that'll play into Infinity War.
well, especially if Thanos gets it, if he can control time, then
Ooh,
That's
yeah.
true.
If Thanos
So-
gets it, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
Do
like
it,
Thanos,
MCU.
like Thanos is he isn't not going to get a full Infinity Gauntlet
because
you know
that's
what I mean?
the whole thing for what 10 years or however
Yeah.
long it's been is
Like,
him.
He's going to get all of them.
He's got to.
And like the last time we saw him, I don't remember which movie it was at the end of, but the last time we saw him, he was like, "Well, sometimes you just have to do things yourself."
Yeah,
and he
he
puts
puts the gauntlet
and
on.
he has the gauntlet.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is. We've been tracking these stones for a while, but there
There's
is
one
a
more.
stone that we haven't seen, and we are thinking probably Thor Ragnarok might be it,
Yeah.
be in it, because
Makes sense.
Black Panther. Those are pretty much only options.
Yeah, I
left.
think I do think it'll be Thor because it's about it's death. It's the life. It's a life
Yeah,
gem.
Hela.
And Hela is Lady
Yeah.
Death. So I think
Yeah.
it might have something to do with that.
Who, I don't know if they're going to go this route. In the comics, Thanos is in love with Death.
Right. Exactly.
Who, if you really want to get deep into Marvel lore, Death is actually technically in love with Deadpool. Obviously, they're not going to go that route. That'd be very
Oh my
interesting.
God.
I would love to see Kate Blanchett and Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool make out. That would be hilarious.
Can you imagine like a scene where Thanos is talking to like Hela and be like, "I love you," and she's like, "My heart belongs to another," and cuss to Deadpool, like doing some Deadpool thing.
Oh,
my God.
I mean-
showing his butt. Or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It would be so fun. But anyway,
That is interesting.
also, side note about Thanos, should be very interesting. I don't think they're going to do this in the Marvel movies, but technically, it's one of those things that was what fandoms call head canons that eventually became canon because so many fans just accepted it as fact.
Right.
The idea that Thanos has, because he's in love with death, he has kind of this subconscious desire to eventually lose. He just wants to lose to a worthy opponent so he can die. It's almost like a Viking's death kind of thing.
That is interesting.
He will kill you, obviously. He's not going to be like, not go 100%. But deep down, he wants to eventually be stopped because he wants to die and be with death.
Yeah, like
forever.
he wants to be so bad that the person that kills him is just as powerful as him.
Right, I think he thinks that, like, if he dies, like, in the ultimate battle, the ultimate opponent, Death will finally, like, love him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're going to get into all that in MC. That's a lot.
See, what I'm curious about is how, after the whole Thanos storyline finishes in Infinity War Part 2, I'm assuming, what is bigger than that after?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It's yeah. In the comic books, Thanos is powerful, but Thanos is lost. Like Thanos has been killed by Doctor Doom in the comics. So like
he was beat by a Skrull girl.
yeah, he was beat by Squirrel Girl, who was just cast, the AT&T girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would love to see Squirrel
Lana.
Girl defeat Thanos.
Yeah, she's cool, but
No, I know what you're saying.
but I did like the idea of Anna Kendrick being Squirrel
I did.
Girl.
I know.
But-
Well, I think if she would have been in a movie, it would have been Anna Kendrick. But since it's going to be in a TV show, I think Milana Vayntrub is like, I think she's right there.
Yeah.
But no, you do have a good point, Jen. Who do you get
After that, because it's just been, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see, but
Didn't they? It was going to be part 1 and part 2 of Infinity War, but didn't they split them? And now it's going to be Avengers: Infinity War and the next Avengers movie. Didn't they drop the Infinity War from the second one?
Yeah, they're not calling it part 2. It's
Yeah.
still a continuation, but I
Okay.
think part of it was marketing because stuff like the Hunger Games Part 1 and 2 and Divergent Part 1 and 2 have
that's
not done well. Really, Harry Potter was the only movie to pull that off. Even The Hobbit
Yeah.
couldn't pull that off.
yeah.
And so I think now
Sure.
they're just kind of like, let's not call it
Yeah, no
that
parts.
because then it makes people like kind of weird about
Because
it.
then, and you also feel like, okay, this is only going to be half a movie,
Right,
too,
that's true.
which is always a flaw. Even even with Harry Potter, which I agree is probably the most successful example, still isn't that successful. Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1 is a boring-ass movie.
Oh, my brother's gonna
Come and
disagree.
fight me.
He watched it like 7 times in theaters.
I don't need to see an hour and a half of them camping in the woods. Like, fuck you for just taking a bunch of money for shits and giggles. That was, like, I'm sorry. I understand that it was building up to this, but literally, if you're splitting it up into part 1 and 2, and you make all of, because the whole first half of that book is them camping in the woods. What?
My brother,
Who
who
cares?
loves part 1, even my brother, I will say, who loves part 1, shout out to Jordan for listening, he has said that the last movie should have just been 3 hours. No one would have left.
No.
Like, Lord of the Rings was 2 or 3 hours.
It would have been
Everyone was
fine.
a cool fit.
Seriously.
They
You would have
cool
had to
with it.
see...
It's the last
Because,
movie.
no, you're right. We needed to see Hermione cut Harry's hair and have a conversation
Oh
about
my
it.
god.
You're right. That needed to happen. We all needed to pay $15 to see them camping.
For the record, I've
Various
never seen this
places.
movie, so it's.
Oh, okay.
I've missed like most of the Harry
A lot of
Potters.
people paid $15 to see Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson almost naked. That's pretty much what they paid.
Pretty much.
Wow.
The second part was great, but it could have been, I would have rather seen more of the big battle, which I felt like was cut. Harry Potter's a whole.
No,
other
yeah,
thing.
but no, I know what you're saying. Like,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
It's smart move by Marvel. They've learned
Yeah.
from others' mistakes. They're just gonna make it like it's gonna be like Empire Strikes Back. I feel like it's gonna be Empire Strikes Back and then Return of the Jedi. I am convinced that
Yeah.
someone major, maybe Captain America, or somebody, will die at the end of the Infinity War.
I wouldn't be
movie.
surprised if it was Captain America or if it was Tony Stark.
Yeah,
Just
it's got to be one of the
because-
big three.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Because at this point, people would be fine enough if they did end up making Winter Soldier into the new Captain America,
Right.
or something along those lines.
Well, yeah, in the
So,
comics, yeah, like obviously Winter
kinda-
Soldier could be it, and also the Falcon is Captain America at some point in the comics.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true.
Sentinels.
And they kind of foreshadowed it a little bit in the end of Civil War. They showed Sebastian Stan holding the
Holding the
shield.
shield, yeah.
So we'll see. Anyway,
Yeah,
back to Doctor Strange
Anyway.
and time travel. But
we
yeah.
got to talk a little MCU for. I mean, like this is the
We
only
could-
time we're ever gonna get to talk about it.
the three of us could have a whole other podcast
Yeah.
just on MCU.
We really can.
Honestly. So,
Um,
but
yeah, I mean, I have a couple more notes on Doctor Strange.
Sure.
I definitely want a Slain Ring. I wish I want one of those so bad.
yeah.
Just create a portal and walk somewhere. I have a question. How do they get money?
I was thinking that too. I was like, and I thought about that when he was eating the apple. I was like, I wonder where they have money to pay for these things, or maybe they have a garden, but like they don't have people don't pay to go there.
Yeah, no
So,
one's
like,
paying them.
It's not like a tourist attraction.
Like the Avengers don't fund them. The Shield doesn't fund them. The city of New York doesn't fund
Is
them.
there a
Where do they get
spell? That, is there a
clothes and
spell
food
that
and
gives them
energy?
money?
Where do they
I
pay for their
guess.
Wi-Fi from?
That's
Yeah.
true. They have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there's a money dimension that they access.
I
to
wonder what the password
their
is
mega
for their
account.
Wi-Fi account.
Yeah.
Tries my ancient spell.
Oh,
Yeah,
it wasn't on.
opens
It
The
was on
password's
paper.
on there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You're
It
right.
looks like a
that-
mantra.
That bit.
That's right. Duh. What am I
Isn't
thinking?
that mantra? No, the
Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi password.
Yeah, the cape reminded me of the carpet from Aladdin.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's very has a mind of its own, and like it's like yo
Sassy.
pulling him and sassy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
saw
We-
after
and-
this. After this movie was released, I saw either a comment or an article or something that said there is more personality put into the cape than anyone else in the entire movie. It's a little harsh,
a little
but,
harsh. A little
but like
harsh.
to a certain extent, they're not wrong.
Yeah, I would say only Mordo probably gets more of a dimensions than the cape.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say. By the way, I know we haven't touched on it, but just for I can have Matt officially say this: is there any scientific accuracy to this time travel?
For
well, we don't fully understand the multiverse. So if there are infinite dimensions out there with infinite different possibilities and you had a way to access them, then no, it's not possible. No, but that's what I do like about it. It is magic. But Tilda Swinton does say, if you don't like the word spells, think of it as like programs for the source code of the universe.
Which was totally like a Matrix flash for me
Yeah,
when
that's
they
true.
were having that discussion.
Yeah. So for that reason, I do like it. I like that it's multiverse stuff and not magic.
Consequences we kind of I think touched on a little bit, but just
Yeah, Mordo said it.
yeah, is that like the bill always comes due or
Right.
something he says.
Eventually.
So it's very much like we've heard it in other things throughout pop culture, movies and TV. The first example that comes to mind for me that's similar is in the TV show Once Upon a Time. It's often said throughout the show, all magic comes with a price. This is the same idea, that there are always going to be consequences for using magic.
Yeah, personal or like external, where it's like time is fractured, you know.
You don't know what it is, but something will happen because you use something that is not natural.
Yeah.
Natural. It goes against the natural law. Which I think, you know, you could kind of say that them using magic at all is kind of against the natural law.
Right.
But, you know, for sake of argument.
But, well, I mean, as Benedict Wong's character says, he's like, it's like we're supposed to protect natural law. It's also it's really supposed to be like, it's like the gun that's kept in your nightstand drawer for protection. That's what it's supposed to be used for. Of course, not everyone does that, particularly Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it's like it's like the Time Cops, except it's magic cops.
Magic cops. Ooh, that'd be a fun movie.
They use magic to stop people using magic for bad.
Wait, quick! Magic Cops, the movie. It's like we're a division. We just stop wizards from going crazy. They're like mortals. They're not even like wizards. They're just like, we stop magical beings. Like the MIB.
Yeah.
A Time Cop for just magic. Played by Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Who's not a wizard.
He'd be like, I hate wizards.
I hate wizards. One killed my family.
Yeah.
Watch the hell out of that movie.
Oh, that's great.
That'd be amazing. Time Wizard. We call
Make
Time
it Hollywood.
Oh, that's so good. Totally lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. That was worth it. Relevant to the story, we kind of talked about that too, that it's kind of throughout. We see a little bits of time.
Yeah, it's hinted towards. It does feel a little tacked on because they could have done the movie without it, I guess. But at the same time, they do it enough that it justifies it. It isn't like Galaxy Quest or like Superman where he just reverts time, whatever. So it is more than just a convenient way to solve the issues.
Yeah, for sure. Close-in sets are obviously very well done. It's
really
a
cool.
Marvel movie, so it's, you know, it feels often like no expenses too high. Like, you know, do what you want to do to make this movie look as cool as possible. And it really does look really cool.
And I think it got nominated for visual effects. I don't know if it got nominated for costume design.
I don't know, I can check.
But it definitely got nominated for
I noticed that Doctor Strange's his watch drawer, they all spun.
That is such an unnecessary
Why do you want watch?
expense.
Like, you can. There's no way to 360 degrees of a watch is just like the band of it. Like, I guess that's why you want to see it.
But there's a lot of. I wrote that down actually as a note that like there's a lot of watches and like
right,
time
yeah, which is
kind of
fine.
things,
But
that
just the drawer, they're all spinning. Like, why would you want that?
Yeah.
Are they always spinning?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a
Anyways,
good question.
yeah.
We'll never know, really.
I just thought it was funny when I saw it.
Cool. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have any other things?
That's all my notes.
Okay. Do you want to experience this time travel? We kind
Yes.
of said
Yeah,
yes
that'd be
already.
cool.
Yeah,
I
I'm
wanna-
down for this
I want to
too.
be in this world. I want to have these powers. I want to do
Yeah,
this. Like,
I agree.
I think my favorite superhero of the Marvel universe, I said before, is not on the podcast, but it's Scarlet Witch. Because I want to like have her powers of like, you know, telekinesis and flying around and being all cool. But the second place would be definitely Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I like Doctor Strange. Mine would always be Jean Grey, though, for sure.
Of course.
I gotta be Dark Phoenix.
Oh, I don't even know who I would be, but I definitely would like to have these powers. I don't know if I
Yeah.
want to be Doctor Strange. I don't know if I want the responsibility of
I
that.
mean,
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
kind of
not,
an a-hole.
yeah. I mean, like, not be him, but have his powers.
having
Yeah.
powers would be cool. Experiencing
Yeah.
time travel would be really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
To kind of manipulate it that way is very interesting.
yeah.
It's like a DVR.
Somehow, for some reason, maybe it's just because of an online test that I took. One online test once said I was Pepper Potts in the Marvel universe, which is interesting.
Interesting.
Well, she got powers for a little
She got
bit.
powers for a
Yeah.
little bit. I was like, but who would be?
You
my
wouldn't even be
Tony
like a
Stark?
hero. Like, there's 15 heroes. You wouldn't even be one of the heroes.
I'm just like,
You're Pepper.
I mean, I'm definitely one of the cooler romance interests of the MCU, but I'm like, who's my Tony Stark then? Who's that? Is it
That's
Robbie?
interesting.
No.
Robbie is not Tony Stark. Robbie is
Robbie is definitely not Tony Stark.
Robbie is more like Captain America. If I had to pick anyone,
You need someone who's good with her hands and can you know
Oh.
make some machine
like a mechanic sort
Oh.
of a person.
like someone that can you know.
Maybe I am Pepper Potts.
Yeah.
You are.
Yep. Sorry, it's a little inside baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah, but that's it.
Okay, cool. I never remembered the train of thought that I was going to say after we were talking about Time Wizard, so that's fine. If it ever comes back, I'll tweet about it.
Time was just such a cool idea.
We have to call it Time Wizard, though, right? Because who wouldn't see that movie?
I would definitely see
I would
that movie.
Time.
I mean, if we're going to make a movie with Daniel Radcliffe, he obviously wouldn't be a wizard, and we have to include time travel, so I think Time Wizard is
I think
right
that's
up our alley.
solid, yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe, Benjamin Bratt,
But-
Rachel McAdams, Time Wizard.
Oh, man.
But yeah, Rachel McAdams has to be the one to time travel.
We're going to send you back in time, Rachel.
It's gonna happen. We're gonna make it happen.
She could be the Time Wizard.
She could be the
Ooh.
time wizard.
She finally gets all the time travel, so she just decides to go crazy. She can't handle the power.
But don't you think at a certain point they're like, what female actress could we put against this time traveling wizard? Because that's literally what Doctor Strange is. He's a time traveling wizard. So, hey, who was that girl from
The Time Traveler's Wife.
Time Traveler's Wife? No. What about the one from Midnight in Paris?
Or About Time.
Oh, yeah, no, I like her the best.
It's Margot Robbie. No, not no. That's
Someone
me
who can
like sitting
handle
outside of a glass window banging on it. Like, no.
someone who can handle dating a time traveler.
Yeah.
That's her like number one in her resume.
Oh my god.
Anyway, Rachel McAdams, we love you. Come on the show.
I mean, even if she's done 20 movies in her life, 4 of those 20s, that's a pretty big percentage.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of those movies. And it'll be like the first thing I ever ask her if I ever see her in person.
I know.
I'm like, yo, what's with you and time
I
travel?
know. We say this every time, but if anyone out there knows her, or if you're out there, Rachel, please let us know. We want to talk to you. Like, just about life in general, but also about time travel. We want to get your thoughts.
You can plug as much as you want, but we just want to ask you if you knew that at this point, if you were aware that you dated time travelers in so many movies. Tell us, please. We're dying to know. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Till we meet again, Rachel McAdams. Let's do final reviews.
Yes.
Okay. Movie rating, I want to start. I like this movie. Even watching it a third time, it was still fun. I don't want to see it again for like a year or two, I think. This is the kind of movie that if you see it too much, I think it kind of loses some of its charm.
Yeah. Mm.
But visually, it's really fun. It's definitely an enjoyable watch. It is on Netflix, although if you've gotten this far, we kind of spoiled the whole thing, but it is streaming on Netflix if you want to rewatch it. And I want to give this movie 7.5 out of 10, because I feel like we were nitpicky about things, but it did do a decent job.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely lost a point for lack of use for Mads, but it is a really, really, really strong cast. Everyone really can hold their own against each other, which is important, because if you had like 1 or 2 big people and then like some kind of B or C actors, it would kind of fall a little bit. But everyone is super strong on their own, so that's really nice to see. So 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time I am right there with you, Jen, but even before you said your number, I was like 7.5. So I agree for the same reasons. I definitely think this is one of the stronger Marvel movies of late. They had the same issue with like a villain that's not really used that well, but it was fun. I do think the comedy is good, but I guess I kind of had to, because they have to put in something for kids, I guess, and kids want to laugh at jokes. But I think it was good enough, and I enjoyed it, and I think...
Did you appreciate Beyonce joke?
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, the stuff with Juan's always funny.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of the... Although he's more stern, and whatnot, he's one of the funnier characters. At least comedy surrounds him, so with his joke at the end, or where he laughed at the rules are after the spells. Anyways, yeah, so I agree, 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. I'll give it a little bit lower at a 7. But I'm pretty much right there. It's an enjoyable film. There's nothing really, horrible about it. Obviously we're nitpicking it. But, no, it's an enjoyable film. And it's got some good stuff. The acting is very strong. There's some really good scenes of dialogue and great visuals. Really, really cool visuals. And fight scenes. So, 7 out of 10.
Cool. Time travel, I want to give it, I don't know, maybe 5 out of 10. Because... there is time travel throughout, and it is solid rules. It's pretty neat, but it is very fantastical, and there's not that much that we are able to grab onto about, more about it than just kind of what we see Benedict Cumberbatch use. But it is still fun to watch, and I liked the time loop with Dormammu, and I liked the reverse of the Hong Kong stuff was cool, so... yeah, I guess that seems okay for now. 5 out of 10.
Yeah, the fact that it's other dimensions, it's better than, magic can mess with time.
Yeah, that's true.
But it is a little weird where it's like, how does it affect like the Earth's rotation around the sun? Does like the entire universe rewind? You know, is everything paused?
Yeah.
Like when he left the dimension, it was still paused, and then when he arrived behind Mads Mikkelsen's character, it was the point where he would have been on the ground. So it's a little weird where it's like he left and time was still paused, so when he came back...
But it wasn't paused, though, because Mads Mikkelsen says to Mordo, like, look, even he abandoned you after he leaves to go to Dormammu. So, like...
Well, no, but, like, the point, like, when... I think when they repeat their lines when he comes back, and I think the point at which he would have been on the ground, he appears behind him. So I'm not saying, like, it's an inconsistency, but it's like...
There should be two of him until he goes
I guess,
up to the
but
thing.
then again, time is paused at that point, so if he leaves and comes back to it, maybe he came back to the point
And
where
the
it was
other
just
hand would
paused.
disappear.
I guess, but see, that's where it's kind of weird with like time being paused. So that's why it's not perfect, but I do like that it's an alternate not alternate. It's a other dimension that they're accessing, and they do enough of it. So I'll probably give it a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of pretty much where you guys are. I'll give it a 5, just because they don't break the rules. Every rule that's established, they don't break, which is always appreciated for me in a time travel movie. And you know, it's solid. It's not just thrown in there as like a catch-all like solution. So 5 out of 10.
The Rotten Tomatoes rating for this movie is 90%. That's really high.
Wow. Although the average rating is right where we were, 7.3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not like a lot they do like horrible, so I guess it makes sense that 90% of critics are all like, well, I can recommend it.
Right.
Yeah.
From binary, like fresh, non-fresh, I definitely see how they went 90% fresh.
Critics' consensus, Doctor Strange artfully balances its outre?
Artfully?
Outre.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Source material. I've never seen that word before in my life.
It's
I'm
a
sorry.
French word, I think.
Okay. Source material against the blockbuster constraints of the MCU, delivering a thoroughly entertaining superhero origin story in the bargain. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right. So our next episode is back to my choice. We are finally, going to do Terminator series, or at least start it. We're going to do Terminator 1 and 2 in the same episode. So, ironically, it is 2 James Cameron movies that I will be doing. I have a complicated relationship with how I feel about James Cameron, but as a director and a writer, he is pretty decent. So,
plus Galen Hurd, she was. We mentioned her during Clock Stoppers, and here she is.
She's up again.
Yeah, she's a writer for Terminator 1. I think she's also a producer for it.
Yeah, that's cool. So, if you are unfamiliar with the Terminator series, from Terminator 1, 84, Terminator 2, 91, so older movies, but they're really fun. I haven't seen these in a very, very long time, so this will be interesting to kind of revisit these.
This happens every time, but I'm pretty sure I've never seen T1 or T2 all the way through, ever. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
you're in for a treat.
I don't know how this keeps happening, but I'm pretty sure I've never seen
Just don't
these
watch
movies.
before you met me, apparently.
I mean, I definitely did watch some movies, but
I do like Michael
missed a ton.
Biehn, so I'm excited to watch this again. Yeah, Terminator 2 is really, really great. I have that one on DVD because it's that's one of my faves. So it's a fun action movie. So we'll do that. And social media, we are at Time Travel Trio on Twitter and Instagram, and we are the Time Travel Trio podcast on Facebook. So if you wish to follow us on those, we would appreciate it. We're also on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, the Time Travel Trio podcast. So please rate, subscribe, follow us on all of those. We would appreciate that as well. Personal, I am at Jen Marlis on Twitter and Instagram.
I'm at Foreman in Space.
I'm at Robinson is Hyde.
And
with that,
we are out of
time.